All right, everybody, the BC video. And, well, let's just see how far we get. My technology is just lacking, and sometimes it can take like 2 to 3 hours to upload a video that's 10 minutes long. I just don't have the financial means to deal with this in any other way, which means this stuff just takes me an astronomically amount of time and my own personal resources. Okay, so let's get started. Now, in the Tartarian movement, we know that it probably goes back to the Phoenicians, which is maritime law and law of the water. And that's pretty much what is governing you. You can go to any city building or government buildings and see what they call the stone or whatever. And sometimes the stone is placed, and then sometimes it has a line on it. Foundation stone, all of these things. And what they're indicating is that's where the water line is, which means you're not standing on the ground, you're standing and walking on the water. Okay? It's kind of interesting because a friend of mine brought this to my attention, Par from Sweden, about the story of Moses and how Moses is the story of how they, some people call it a straw man, whatever you want to call it, because Moses is given away by his birth mother, the informant. That's what they have on our legal documents, and is sent down the waterway, which is the money, the direction of the money, the Admiralty Maritime Law. Even like the bench in the court that the judge sits on is if you go back and you look at the languaging, it's the bank. So he is making sure that the flow of the money, the flow of the river, the bank that he's sitting on, get it? Bank? Only gets the money and you get nothing. So Moses is sent down the waterway. He's abandoned by his mother. And we're going to talk about what that really means when it comes to the birth certificate, the BC. And then he's picked up by what? The government. He's picked up down the government, and they don't know who he is, so they change his total identity. And Moses attempts to use whatever type of supernatural power that he has to change his status, his legal status. He even threatens, okay? And then in the end of the story, what happens? He has to part the Red Sea, part the water so that he can stand on the land again, okay? So that's basically what we're dealing with. So they're telling you in the Bible like what they have been doing to you for a really long time. So I know that the Vatican has been taking footprints of babies. Okay, so they started christening. Christening is something that we do to what? A ship, a vessel, okay? In what? The water, right? So they have to change the flow of the water while you're a fetus, okay? When you're a fetus, you are in, a vessel, the birth of a ship, birth. But because you're in that divine water, that creator's water, that birth, or birth is like the wrong word, the water of creation, let's just call it that. I don't know. Still working on terminology for a lot of stuff. They have to change you when you come out to their water, okay? Their waterway, the Admiralty waterway, okay? Maritime law waterway, all right? So when I was going down a lot of these rabbit holes, I spent 2 years trying to find the end of the vital record, okay? Change the vital record. Because every time you talk to people and you're trying to make like these corrections to get yourself out of fraud, because remember, it's not them. They set up the system and misled you, but you created the fraud. And we'll talk about why you created the fraud. because you're commingling identities, which is like financial, economic, criminal. I mean, it's all fraud, and the fraud is on you, okay, not them. Okay, so in order to change the vital record, went down it. But what happened is where we found it by accident was that it was in the basements of some of these hospitals. Well, some of these hospitals were burned down. So the vital record, the real record, if you want to call it the blue ink signature record, is gone. 100%. This also is an indication when I tell people that all doctors and medicine and hospitals are criminals by oath. They are criminals, okay? Criminals. Total criminals, okay? And I'm going to prove it to you. All right, so trying to find their vital record, can't find it. So what we found out that it's like, probably in the corner of a basement of a hospital, if the hospital still has those, if the hospital hasn't been changed. So see, every time that they erect a new hospital in the old hospital place and call it something else, now those people get to make tons of money off your original vital record, okay? Because you, my friend, are the battery. You are the original deposit. You are the asset, okay? And when they turn you into a debtor's object, they print, you want to know why the U.S. prints money? Because every time somebody's born and a birth certificate is submitted, bam, we get to print a lot of money. Every time an illegal comes into our country, they get all the benefits of a sovereign nation and being a sovereign. You know why? Because they are. Until they become a citizen, a U.S. citizen, they're not under the debtorship, okay? They're not a debtor, okay? And they get nothing, okay? So that's why they get what they get, is because the whole legal standing, all right? So that's what you've got to realize. So is this really going to change with the next administration, or it's not? And I don't see that it is, because nobody is talking about this, okay? There's not many of us that actually know this, and probably even fewer of us that actually wanted to talk about it. And it's just so ridiculous. And so I tried to talk to people about this with back channels in a more public way, whatever. Wasn't going to happen. People just want to shut me down or whatever else. So I consider everyone part of the crime. Even the truthers, even these people you're watching, even whatever, because this is the core of your enslavement. The vital record. All right, so first thing that I would like to talk about is, this is my birth certificate. The top is a copy, and redacted a few things just to show you what I'm talking about. Some states issue these, so I had to get a new one, see November 12th, 2002, because I lost my old original. And I was shocked when I got this, and it looked like a stock certificate, number 1. So that tells you, because your birth certificate looks like a stock certificate, that California is pretty open about what you are. You're an asset and a commodity. You are not a human being. Okay? You're not a human being. To them, you're an asset and a commodity. Okay? Now, the other thing that kind of blew my lid off was, I'm just going to show it to you briefly. Let's see if we can go real close. Right there. Ooh, it's microscopic. Banknote Corporation of America. Yep. So what they're saying is that it's official. My birth certificate is a banknote of the Corporation of America in California. And look, you can see how nice the whole stock paper is, blah, blah, blah. Now, I want to tell you, before I go any further in this, that the Vatican's been involved with this for a long time, because they have been telling you to come in and christen, okay, since they're like the oldest, like, controller of the high seas, right? They're the ones that get enough footprints from all the babies they christened in England. And then they don't like the king. So then they tell Spain, well, we'll give you a lot of money to go over and murder all the people because, we hold the titles over them like commodities, like cattle. So go over and destroy all of England's assets, which are the people, okay? And we'll give you a nice price. So this is what has been going on, okay, for centuries, thousands of years. So when you christen something, baptize something, what are you doing? Oh, you're putting them back in controlled water under admiralty. So the churches know this, okay? They know this, all right? The Maritime Admiralty Law, they change your identity. And now the church gets to control your asset. They help the government to control your asset because you've been christened. It's like I said, the only thing that really gets christened is a ship, a vessel in the ocean before it goes out. So when you get christened, what the Vatican will do is they take footprints, just like the hospital takes footprints of the baby, and now you're under ownership because they christened you into their law, into their legal holdings as an asset. This is why CPS can come after your children. I mean, are there some cases where somebody should be protecting the children? Absolutely. But having been human trafficked, I can tell you that a lot of it is bad, that they can just come and take your children, do whatever with their children. If I was talking to people out there, I would get your kids out of school as fast as possible. Because when they start running out of children to eat and do whatever else that they're going to do with them, traffic them, they're going to be coming after yours. And because you don't own them, which I'm going to prove to you, you don't own them, you are going to be in trouble because you're never going to see them again. Okay? Never going to see them again. This is why you're forced to do all the other medical stuff and everything else to babies and children that absolutely shouldn't be done. Shouldn't be done ever. Never. All right. I wanted to talk about the Mormons. So they opened up, okay, if you look at I don't know, let's say like around 2000, I don't know when these stats came out. I think like around 2010. If you had looked up internationally, profit and nonprofit, what were the largest businesses in the world? Didn't matter if they were for profit or not for profit. The Vatican was number one. Okay, why? Oh, because they're involved in this. Right? They've been using your babies as assets for a long time. Number two, the Mormons were number three. And you know what they were doing? They have done this crazy ass thing where they're doing the death certificates. And I don't know if you've actually looked at a death certificate over the last 10 years. Oh, but they're stock certificates too. So they're trafficking you in death. Okay? So what are they doing? They're looking for death certificates of any kind from any time down in their little basement. Oh, guess what? In Admiralty law, right? They're under the water. So this is information you're not allowed to have because your FOIA isn't going to give you the underwater Admiralty law information. Because you need a scuba diver to go down there. This is how insane the whole stupid thing is. You're a sunken shipwreck, people. So there's no recovery. All right, so anyway. And that's why the courts are on top of the water. You go in and you cross the court, and it doesn't matter what the law is. Okay, it's going to be presumption of law, whatever the best argument is, and where the captain wants to flow the money. He's in the priesthood. He's wearing a robe. He's a Jesuit in the priesthood of the water. Just like the doctors are highly involved in it. So they wonder why you can traffic body parts. They can take organs while you're still alive. They can take your children. They can kill you. 800,000 people, being murdered in the U.S. by medicine every year. Oh, it's way more than that since 2020, I'm sure. Is because of what I'm going to talk to you about. So the Mormons are getting death certificates so that they can reacclimate you by baptizing you, christening you in their water into their legal system to generate assets on and sell your information. So the government's involved in all the hacking. The hospitals are involved in all the hacking. Your county registers are involved in all the hacking. The banks are all involved in the hacking because they're sharing your information. So the people that understand this at the top can get new information and generate assets on you in hedge funds and mutual funds and securities. And I'm not kidding. Okay? I'm not kidding. Okay, first of all, I want to talk about, it says live birth certificate of live birth, okay? Now, birth is not a human term, and I don't even know what the human term is. I'm still trying to find that out. That what happens when I come out of my mom's womb, out of the divine waters of the Creator, I have no idea what that makes me. But the word birth is a zoology term, primate term. Born is also in the zoology and primate thing. So just to generate this document, you are not a human being. You are a primate. You are a zoology animal, okay? So you're not even being recorded as a human being. Okay? So, live primate birth. Now, if you go to Blacklaw's dictionary, and let's talk about Blacklaw's dictionary. Blacklaw's dictionary was a dictionary that was created to actually deal with the slaves. But now, it's been used on you over and over and over again. Okay? Because if you go to Blacklaw's dictionary, they try to erase it. So any pre-1970 Blacklaw's dictionary is supreme because it will tell you exactly what the legal terminology is. In the Blacklaw's dictionary, look up the word monster. Okay? Monster is born to a prodigious birth. Okay? To a human mother, basically. But that this birth is a monster and not entitled, basically, to own anything. Okay, so this is what you are. When you're birthed, you are a primate. Well, actually, you're a sea monster. Okay, because eventually what this document does is it turns you into a sea monster. Commingling fiction. Okay? All right. So on here it says this child, okay? That is the child that was birthed, which a child could be anything other than human. If you look at, sometimes they have the mother, this one has maiden name of mother. Sometimes they call her the informant because she's informing against the infant, right? She's informing against the monster, that she was birthed out. Let's see. Okay, so anyway, so let's look at this. Okay, so then what happens is I took in my my first breath or whatever, December 18th, 1968, at this hour, right? Which was recorded. So I was born in the birth. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about this. So your mother goes into the hospital or wherever. The hospital is a non-profit agency that makes profit, that is a port of entry because they have religious standing with the Vatican. Okay? They were created by the Vatican. A state and county hospital is even worse. So the mother, who has already been turned into an all caps name, is a vessel, industrial property vessel, that was claimed at her birth because the mother never went in and actually went to the county and registered her as a live human being. So the hospital sits on the birth certificate for whatever the duration is. You have to look at the law in your state. I think Utah has the longest one, before the county can claim the abandoned baby. And it's 30 days. California, something like 10 days. But they do break their own laws. Okay? So the doctors and the hospitals are involved with creating a birth certificate, which really should be a BERTH certificate, because the doctor is not a doctor. He originally was the dock attendant. The ships come in, the dock attendant checks off what is delivered from the berth of the ship, under and inside of the ship as it comes into the port of entry, and all of that stuff belongs to that country wherever they port by law. And it all has to be registered. So the dock attendant registers it all. So the mother goes in. She has been registered as a industrial property vessel. She goes into the port of entry. The dock attendant registers the live birth, the live BERTH that was removed from the ship, changing the birth into a primate birth. Then what happens is that the hospital sits on the document for the duration, then sends it to the county. Okay? And here we are. Here's the medical doctor who was involved. Here is his license. Here's his name, who sold you into slavery. Okay? Now, here we go. The birth of this child was alive at the hour and date and place above. Okay? Again, not a human. Zoology term, primate. Now, here's my mother that signs the document. Here she is, the informant. Okay, so they took her from being my mother, right, who gave birth out of the divine waters, to the informant, okay? Which means, okay, let's talk about that. Who's an informant? Who's an informant? Well, cops use informants all the time. The informant is the person in between them and that have the information, that make accusations or facts against another person, that person can be arrested or taken in for crimes or whatever else. So the mother is now informing against me on the day after I was born. So basically, she's informing the county of something she doesn't understand. That I was birthed as a primate, and so I'm not human. And that's all they need. Mind you, one of the things that was brought up in one of my, somebody I was working with legally, is that in medicine, the person was under duress. They were doped up. They were involved in massive surgical procedures. They were not in the right frame of mind to inform anything or anyone, including 24 hours later. So all mothers signed in duress because they don't know what they've done. With that, it makes the birth certificate void, null and void, okay? Just that. That's a total legal argument. Okay, next. The physician, now because he has an informant who's informed on me, now he's going to come out of the closet the day after that while they're still holding the document to say, yes, it was a zoo animal, blah, 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 blah. The mother informed against the baby and the infant. And basically, then what happens is it's sent to the registrar. And the date that it was accepted and registered was December 23rd, 1968. So the county here even broke their own law of registering me as abandoned baby property within 10 days in California. They even broke their own law. See, I tell you, they break their own law all the time. So why would they need to register a human being that has divine under the creator, who came from the womb of the creator's water, the natural water law, nature's water law, the law of nature and the creator. And then they turn them into in the water, the law of admiralty law by registering you. What is registered? What is registered, people? A car, an asset, a stock, a commodity. Things of value are registered. Okay? So when this happened, the county registered me. This is when the government took all the assets, because I'm the original depositor when I came out, and took away my life essence into slave labor and everything else that has happened to me in my life, that no one has protected me or legally stood up for me because I'm an asset. Nobody gives a shit. This is when they created the all caps name on me. Okay? The all caps name was registered as a corporation, a trust, on this date. Boom. That's fact, people. And people want to know where the bottom line of all this legal stuff is. There it is. That is the day that you are turned into an all caps corporation. This is why every time you go and open something, it's a new bank account. And because they are the trustee over you and all your assets that they hold, including your Federal Reserve account, and I could totally talk about that I know for a fact it's real because I accessed it. They get you to fingerprint. They get your baby footprints, right? Then they turn you into an industrial property vessel sailing on the water and lost. This is why you become the sea monster. So from there on, you are commingling assets and two identities. This is why the law won't help you. Medicine could care less about you. Nobody cares. because you have no legal rights at all as an all caps name. Then what they get you to do is get a social security number. The social security number is your corporation number, okay? With your all caps. Oh, and what do they get you to do? They get you to sign a birth. They have you apply with your birth date. Okay? What they should be saying is you need to put your BERTH date, your vessel date, on the document, because then the vessel date, December 23rd, 1968, goes along with the old caps name, and also the social security number, which is the corporation number, and your bank account isn't far off from that. Then your social security card, the red numbers on the back, tell which Federal Reserve is holding your assets. So then they can go ahead using your social security number, your signature, your fingerprints. Well, they already have your footprints. They can actually go ahead and start generating assets. So these people aren't allowed to get into your Federal Reserve accounts that have been put aside for you and now are controlled since 1933. And they get to take out bonds on your mortgages and life insurance policies. And this is how they generate all these assets in hedge funds and mutual funds. So that's it, folks. That's the day that you were turned. And then, ever since then, you've commingled your birth date with your corporation, two identities, which is fraud. Commingling of legal fraud.